going on YouTube? So today we're gonna be showing you guys how to remove a LS400 transmission. Now this should be similar for all generations of the LS400 from 1990 to 2000. It should be similar to the LS430 as well, but we're gonna get into this and I'll show you guys step by step. For this car, this transmission, it's gonna be going into that car over there. That car already has its transmission off, so we're gonna be taking this one out, putting it into that one over there. So let's get into it. All right, so for starters, I'm gonna say right now, so we gotta get our exhaust off, completely off, leaving the headers on, getting our cats off. You could leave your mid muffler and your rear mufflers on, but I'm gonna get the whole exhaust off, make it easier. After that, you're gonna start getting the heat shield off, your drive shaft off, and the transmission, the center support bearing, and from the diff. After that, you can get to draining your fluid, your transmission fluid. You can get your shifter linkage off. You can get your transmission lines off. Our torque converter bolts off. There's a plate right here hiding it. Torque converter bolts are right behind that plate. And then after that, we can start getting our bell housing bolts off. And then from there, we'll go from there. Transmission mount. I'll show you guys step by step as I go. Let's get into it. Now for starters, we're gonna start getting our O2 sensors off, our oxygen sensor, both sides. Now this is a 7/8. You can use a wrench. It's easier with the wrench. You could use a oxygen sensor socket, the ratchet. I prefer to use a wrench. So we're gonna start with that. After that, start getting our exhaust off. Now that our two sensors are off, both of them are off, we're just gonna leave them hanging there. We're gonna go down here to this exhaust clamp. This is a 12mm bolt. Loosen that up. And then from there, once we loosen this, I'm gonna go down here, move the mufflers, get this all off one piece. So we got this bolt loosened up, clamp is loosened up. So we're gonna go to the exhaust hangers, slide these out from the mufflers, the mid mufflers. And then we're gonna go back there, move the hangers from back there. And then it might be a little stuck right here, but we're gonna slide it out after that. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3. Up in there, those 2, 3. Same thing for the other side. Those are 17mm. Get those off. It's gonna come off completely. Same thing on that side. Then we'll go to hangers. This hanger's off. Gonna go to the other side. Do the same thing. All right. Both rear muffler hangers are off. Now, just gotta get these rubber hangers. And these 4 mufflers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Should come right off, coming from there. That's our second cat down there. Our main cats, both up front. Third cat right there. So let's get these hangers off. It should slide out. Okay, now that our hangers are off, could just slide this exhaust off. So now that our rear mufflers are off, we could start getting our cats off, with our third cat off. Right now, since we're already back here, I'm gonna get these drive shaft bolts to our pinion gear on our diff. I'll try and show you guys that.
So it's a 17mm. We're gonna use our soil socket right here. come off pretty easily. Already need 17mm wrench, just our swivel socket. Get it all around. I gotta put it in neutral. Let's see if I can get it. Let's not get them all without putting it in neutral. The top one's all the way up there. Let's see. Yeah, I can get it. Okay. Alright, those are off. Now you have to put the nut back on this one. Open with the hammer right here. We'll get to that in a bit.
There's a bracket right here. These are 12mm bolts. Gonna get that to free the drive shaft when we get it off there. Let's get our 12mm.
Nuts are off. Let's get this bracket off.
Put that to the side. And we can start getting to our catalytic bolts. Get the cats off. So for the catalytic converter bolts, it looks like there's 3 from the headers to the cat. Looks like someone was trying to do this one on this LS400. They broke the stud completely with the nut. Completely off. There's only one behind here. See it, but this one you guys can see. 1, 2. That was back there. Right there. 3. So it's best to use PB Blaster or WD-40 before you get to these. Let them sit for a bit, soak in, so they loosen up. And then they are 14mm, so let's do that. We'll grab our 14mm and get to that. So for these catalytic converter bolts, it is hard to get a socket on there. Looks like you do need a long socket, but putting a long socket on there, it's kind of impossible. Doesn't fully get on there, fully grip on there. You'll just end up stripping them. So just so I always use a wrench, 14mm wrench. So we're gonna get to that with the wrench. So we got 2 off so far. Looks like somebody tried to get at these. They already stripped it. Broke this one, stripped this one. So we might have to chop that one off, the sawzall, or we're gonna try our strip socket. But let's continue with the last 2. So for this top one, we are able to use our long socket with a couple extensions. You don't need to use 3 extensions. You could use 1 long one. But the bird is out. Probably can't hear me, but it's a 14mm long socket all the way up in there. See it. The 3rd one, top one. And we're gonna try the same thing for the side. This one's broken loose already. So just gonna go at it and get that off. So right here I did decide to go and grab my 1/2" ratchet or 1/2" socket, 14mm still, or 1/2" extensions, because with our 1/2", there's way much less flex. I'm trying to break these bolts loose than our 3/8 breaker bar and our 3/8 setup. So it's just way easier. It's a lot less flex. I'm trying to break them loose. And this one's completely off. It's just that strip bolt on that side we're gonna have to deal with. And there is a 2 bolts that usually go there mounted on the transmission. But like I said, somebody was already down here, took those off, left them off. So let's finish getting this off, deal with that other cat last bolt. So I did try using one of these E sockets. It's not an E12, but it was actually a E10, but the tip of the stud ended up breaking off. So now I can try one of the strip sockets. If not, I'm just gonna try to chop it off with our sawzall last resort. So I'm just taking off this part of the cat off. Gonna see, hopefully there's enough space to clear it. I doubt it. I might still have to get this cat off, but we'll see right now. If not, like I said, I'll end up chopping that bolt off, that stud off. But let's see, we'll go from here. So we'll get back to that stud over there. Right now, I'm gonna get this plate off for the torque converter using our swivel socket and extension. They are 12 millimeters. Don't have to use a swivel socket. You can use a wrench, a regular socket, and a ratchet. I'm using the swivel socket with the extension. So get that plate off. It'll expose our torque converter bolts. So this is our torque converter. This is our flex plate right here with the gears. It's not a flywheel, it's a flex plate. Automatic transmissions, cars with automatic transmissions have a flex plate, not a flywheel. This is what our torque converter bolts will look like. They are 14 millimeter, and that behind the flex plate is our torque converter. That's gonna come off with our transmission. So to get our torque converter bolts off, we're gonna be using a 14 millimeter socket with our ratchet, and we do need to spin the crank to get all, there's 6 of them, we're gonna need to get all 6 off. And you spin the crank, and when we spin the crank, that will spin our torque converter, because the torque converter and the flex plate is connected to the rear end of the crankshaft of the motor. And to get all 6, we need to spin the crankshaft. So we're gonna spin it. It should spin counterclockwise from my side, and should be, no, it's gonna spin clockwise, my bad, not counterclockwise. So let's get to it. So this one we could get it with our ratchet right now, with our 14 mil. So we're gonna do that. So right now I'm using my breaker bar, ratchet style, with the 7/8 to the crank bolt right there. Crank bolt, harmonic bouncer. That holds a harmonic bouncer down. Now as I spin the crank, the flex plate, and damn, breaker bar. So as I spin the crank, our flex plate, the torque converter will spin, exposing the next bolt. So we're gonna do that 6 times, well 5 more times. We already did it once, getting each bolt to the flex plate. So when you're doing these torque converter bolts on the flex plate, you don't need someone to hold the crank. You could just get the bolt close to the block of the motor. This is the block of the motor. This is the bell housing of the transmission, as you can see here. So you're gonna get it close to the block. You're gonna use the block of the motor to keep it from spinning. Just like that. Careful not to strip it. Break it loose. Once it's loose, as you see, nobody's holding it. Once it's loose, just get it off by hand. So this is a one-man job. Two-man job does make it easier, but like I said, you could do it by yourself. So now that we got all 6 bolts off, you could spin the crank just to make sure. Now the holes don't line up. The torque converter, the flex plate will spin freely, separately from the torque converter. Now that it's all bolts are off, that way you can ensure completely off. Or you'll know once you get all 6 bolts off. So now we can start getting our bell housing bolts off. Like I said, we'll get back to that cat. So for your bell housing bolts, it is just 2 14 millimeters down here, another 14 millimeter right here, another 14 mil, 17, 17, and then there's a couple more 17s up there, but all you will need is a 17 millimeter socket and a 14 millimeter socket. And I'll show you how to get the top ones, because those are going to be the harder ones. But these ones, the lower ones, all of these ones, 17 right here from here to here, are fairly easy to get. So I'm not going to be showing you guys how to do that, because I can't record with one hand and do that one hand. But they're pretty easy to get to, so should be able to get that without showing you guys. So we got our 17 millimeter. It goes right here. We can't get our 14 millimeter because of the cat, but not trying to deal with that right now. We're gonna deal with that later. We're gonna go down here. We're gonna get our heat shield off using a 10 millimeter, and then after that, we're gonna get this bracket off. 12 millimeter bolts. After we get that off, we get our shift linkage off. This connects to our shifter up in the car, interior, park, reverse, neutral, drive, all our gears. Once you get that off, we can manually put it into neutral if we need to from down here, pushing this forward and down. I'll show you guys that in a bit. But once we get this heat shield off, this bracket off, we get our drive shaft bolts off from up here. Remember, we already took the differential ones off. And then once we get this off, we get our center support bearing, which is being covered up by this heat shield. I'll show you guys after I get the heat shield off. So let's get this off, and I'll show you guys that. So now that we got our heat shield off and our bracket off, we could get, this is the center support bearing I was talking about. All 2-piece drive shafts have a center support bearing. Solid 1-piece drive shafts do not have that center support bearing. It's just one solid piece going from the differential to the transmission. Usually they don't have this bushing either, but this is a 2-piece, so there's a bushing down there, bushing right here, center support bearing in the middle. There's 2 14 millimeter bolts holding it down. So we're gonna get, oh, before we get those off, we're gonna go ahead and get these 17 millimeter bolts off, same way we did down there. We're gonna use our 17 millimeter swivel socket. This thing's a lifesaver. Love using it for these, because I can just put the impact on there, get it off real easy. So get back to you guys once I get these off. Let's get that off. So can't get this bolt out. I have to put it in neutral to spin it out. Can't get the rest of these bolts. There's no space to get the impact or the swivel socket. So I'm gonna show you guys a trick without going up to the car, pressing the neutral button to put it in neutral. When you get this nut off to the shift linkage, Once you get that off, you can manually put it into reverse, neutral, whatever gear we want. I'll show you guys that in a bit once I get this off. So this is a 12mm bolt. Let's grab our 12mm socket, our ratchet. Like I said, I can't record while doing it because I'm one-handed right now. I'll try and record it. Looks like I can. So get that off. It's loose. Get it by hand. So right now, that should be parked all the way forward. Let's see. Oh no. All the way down is park. So it wasn't in park right there. So right now it's in park. Does it move? I'm gonna go down. Oh, that was 2. All right, let me show you guys again. That's down 2, but right there is neutral. So it's park, reverse, and then neutral. So that means 2 clicks is neutral. I went down 2 clicks by accident. If I go down 1 more click, that's reverse. It should still spin freely, but if I go down again, it'll lock up because it goes into park. That's park. I'll try and show you guys again. That's reverse, neutral. So now that it's in neutral, you spin it freely. Get this bolt off. Get the rest of these nuts. These bolts and nuts. So let's do that. So I didn't show you guys, but I got these 14mm bolts on. You have washers stuck on the end of the what's it called, the bolt, and there is washers on the top side. Oh shit. Fucking what's it called, the bracket of the support bearing. So remember to put those back on. So now the support bearing is off. Should be able to wiggle this off. You might need a pry bar to pry this, the end, but usually it should wiggle off. So I'm probably just gonna grab a pry bar. Grab my pry bar and pry. We're gonna pry on this side. So usually it does get stuck on either the drive shaft side or transmission side. So either or, whichever way is easier for you guys, just pry on either side. It'll come off either way. Same thing for that side. Might get stuck on the drive shaft side or the diff side. Talk about this bushing right here, get stuck. Either way, it'll come off. So pry on that, slide off. You need to get the center support bearing for either side to come off first. So our drive shaft is off. Like I said, the bushing will most likely come off with the drive shaft. Same thing for the diff. Came off with the drive shaft, not the diff. So now that our drive shaft, exhaust, shift linkage is off. We are halfway done. The only thing really stopping us is that catalytic converter. So right now we're gonna start draining our fluid just so we don't make a mess while getting it down. And while it's draining, try and see if we can get that cat off next. So let's go to draining the fluid first. So when replacing a car with the used transmission off another car, if you're getting it off, the main thing you want to do is drain the fluid and then check if there's any chunks of metal, like big chunks of metal in the fluid. That'll tell you a good sign the transmission is in good condition or bad condition. But customer just wanted me to swap the transmission. I'm just gonna swap the transmission for him. He doesn't have another transmission, just gonna end up swapping this on the car. Hopefully it's good, but if there is huge chunks of metal, I'm gonna let him know. So we'll drain it, check the fluid. It's most likely gonna be black. This car does have like 200k miles, so most likely it's gonna be very black, very dark red. Show you guys that. So draining the fluid right now, I'm not gonna lie, fluid does look pretty good. I do have it on this little, I think it's a little 2-gallon bucket, Home Depot bucket, because the wind does blow. There's a lot of wind right now. If there's no wind, you're not gonna need that. And the car is jacked pretty high, so have it on this bucket because the wind does blow the fluid. It does spill a lot, blows the fluid over there and make a mess. But this fluid looks pretty good, and don't really see any fat chunks of metal, nothing really coming out. But we'll see. The customer wants us to open up the pan to replace the transmission filter, and then we'll really see once we're in the transmission oil pan, and really tell, because there is 3 magnets, four. These little markings right here. So these 2 markings equal 1 magnet. That's actually 3 markings, 1, 2, 3 for each magnet. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 magnets that are used for any metal debris that are loose in the transmission that get collected up in there. So we'll check that out if customer wants us to replace the transmission oil filter as well. So like I said, the wind is blowing the fluid. I'm not really making a big mess right now, but that's about, like, I'm guessing 4 quarts of fluid right there, 5 quarts, about a gallon or so. We'll let it drain a bit, come back, put the drain bolt back on, and then we are going to be getting these transmission bolts, the transmission mount bolts off, these 4 14mm bolts. We're going to drop it. When we drop it, we're going to take our bolt back off. All the fluid's going to be the transmission going to be at an angle. More fluid's going to go towards the end. Open the drain bolt back up, and then there's going to be a lot more fluid coming out. So we'll drain as much fluid as we can. That way we don't make a mess at all, because we are going to be refilling this transmission back up with new fluid. Hopefully new transmission filter as well, customer decides so. And then we also need to leave it at an angle to get those last, not the last 2, because we still have a couple more bell housing bolts to go. So there's 2 main bell housing bolts all the way at the top. I'll show you guys in a bit. At the very top, and those are pretty hard to get to without having the transmission at an angle. So I'll show you guys later in the video once we get to that part. We're very close to getting this out, so we'll get to the next step. Then if you guys are wondering who's crying in the background like a little baby, it's Mr. Checka. Checka, why are you being a baby? Checka, sit down. Checka, look at your little shirt. Mr. I do what I want. Checka, sit down. Checka, why are we being a baby, Checka Bear? She just wants to sit out here. But let's get back to the video. Alright guys, So we're about to cut that bolt to get our cat off. It's pretty easy using our sawzall. So now there's a 10mm bolt right here. You get that, rust it out, but it'll come off. That just holds our transmission lines. Ours does connect to our bell housing, so we do have to get that off. Now that we got that off, there's a 17mm bolt right here holding the bell housing in place. Same thing on the other side. This one's a little harder to see. It's up over here. And then there's just 4 left right now. And those 2 you can get from about right here using a ratchet, breaker bar, whatever. And then like I said earlier, we're gonna have to get these 14mm bolts off from the transmission mount. Have the transmission at an angle to get those last 2 at the very top using long extensions. They're 1/2 inch. We're gonna be using our 1/2 inch breaker bar with our 17mm 1/2 inch drive socket all the way at the top. And then so let's get our 17s at the sides right here. Once we get those off, get the transmission lines off, and then that's pretty much it. It's pretty ready to drop. Once we're dropping it, don't worry about this dipstick tube. The way the transmission will slide it out. This dipstick tube is it's a 2-piece, so it just slides on to the top piece of the dipstick tube, which is bolted onto the block of the motor. Bottom piece slides right out. With the transmission oil pan, you can't. There's no way to get it off. You can't unbolt it from down here. Can't cut it, none of that. It'll slide right off. I'll show you guys when we get to that. So let's get those off. The rest of the bell housing bolts off. Get these transmission lines. Now when doing these transmission lines, they do tend to like turn, like spin when you loosen them. They turn like with the nut, and they end up ripping, breaking apart. There's like really no way in saving it when that happens, but hopefully we get lucky and they don't spin and rip, because it happened with the other one that we're swapping this transmission on. So hopefully it doesn't happen with these, so we can reuse this one. This is the one that ripped on the other one, the other car. This one is good on the other car. This one's the one that ripped. So we just need this one. So let's get to that. So I'm trying to show you guys these last. So you can see the left top one right there. It's blurry. It's right there. Then the one on the right. Camera won't focus. It's right there. Right there. Oh, that won't focus. It's right there. So those last 2 right here, right up there, 17mm, and this is gonna be our setup. Basically 17mm long socket with a couple half inch extensions. So like I said, I'm using the 1/2 inches because when you're using your breaker bar with the 3/8, it does flex a lot. And when it flexes like that, when you break the bolt loose, it does make your hand fly, and you potentially hit your hand, and that hurts real bad. So that's why I use the 1/2 inches, because they don't flex as much. It won't make your hand go flying when you break them loose. So I'm gonna put them on there, break them loose. And still have this one to the side over here, but those are 2 top ones I was talking about. Transmission is at an angle. Transmission mount ripped off. It should still be on here, but I guess this one is bad. Just came completely off. As you can see, it ripped off. But yeah, let's get those 2. And then, oh, it's actually 3. Got this one left over here. Top 2. After that, we'll get our transmission lines, our electrical. Get this one right here. It's right here anyways. Just pop that off. There we go. And there's this one right here. There we go. There's one more over here. We'll get that one in a bit. We'll get back to that one. The last connector is gonna be the one to the shift. I believe it's called the shift solenoid, but that's where the shift linkage connects to. So let's get these bolts, transmission lines, and the rest of the harness, the electrical connectors. Still got one of them broke loose. So once you get one of them broken loose, the bolt's broken loose, we're just gonna grab our impact and impact it off once it's loose. You could try using an impact to just break them loose without using a breaker board, but the bolts are really tight on. My impact doesn't get them off. Maybe if you got a bigger impact, might get them off, but I doubt it. So I'm using a breaker board. Alright guys, so one thing I forgot to tell you guys, before you get all your bell housing bolts, if you have it at an angle, do not get all of them out. Leave one about halfway in there, or just break it loose, and do not get it out fully, because as you can see, it's starting to separate and it probably will fall on you. So leave it on. Just get your transmission lines. Once your transmission lines are off, all your connectors are off, everything's ready to go. You're gonna grab your transmission jack or whatever you're gonna use to support the transmission to get it down. I'm gonna be using my transmission jack, which you guys will see in a second. So we're gonna get our transmission lines using the 17mm. I'm gonna use disconnected from this nut. This is the 17mm. This one, first one. That's the second one. The second one's a 3/4 inch. Don't need to get that one off. Could if you want to, but don't need to. You're gonna be getting it off from this one, 17mm. So let's get those off. Get our transmission jacks under this tranny, support it, jack it up a bit, get the last bolt off, slide it out. Let's just get to it. So transmission lines are completely off. Good thing none of them ripped. I'll show you guys what I was talking about, that ripping. Transmission lines ripping on the other LS400 we have. Got this transmissions going on. So we could just, oh, got oil on me now. Could just reuse these transmission lines, but they are kind of hard to replace. So gonna see the customer will just go with some steel braided lines, but if not, we'll just replace these. Okay, so we got our transmission jacked up. We got the last transmission bolt off. Got our transmission lines off. Everything's completely off. The transmission's already off the block of the engine. So before you drop it, once it's separated, this stick is separated, you're gonna go up in the engine bay, remove your transmission dipstick tube, because it will get stuck. Prevent the tranny. You'll have struggle getting your tranny out. Transmission. So now that it's all off, should be able to just drop it right up. No issues. Transmission jack does help a lot. Big lifesaver. It's going down pretty easy. Let's bring it back a bit. Put this pause. So I did forget one main thing. There's a cable right here that goes to our throttle body. So we gotta go up to the engine bay, release it from our throttle body, feed it down towards the transmission, and get it out. Because that's gonna prevent us from getting the transmission out. So I'm just gonna jack it up a bit. Back up. Go up to our engine bay. From our engine bay, it's gonna be this one right here. Going down to the engine. I mean, going down to, not the engine, to the transmission. So I do need a ladder because it's pretty short. Let's grab a ladder. I am doing this in sandals. Don't judge me. So it's gonna be this one that connects to our throttle body. Don't know exactly what it does, but it's just gonna slide out from there. I believe this is 13 or 14, but we're just gonna disconnect it from there, feed it down in there. That's the last thing, guaranteed last thing. No, I've been saying that, but once that's down in there, as you guys seen, the transmission was already going down, but that cable was preventing us. So let's disconnect that and drop our transmission and get it out. So we disconnect that cable from up top on the throttle body and bringing it down slowly. You don't want to go too. So our phone ended up dying, but got the transmission out. Cable was the last thing in the way. Transmission's out though. Just getting these transmission lines out of this car, put on to that LS. Like I said, one's on that LS. Alright guys, so we got the other LS400. So they're both 97s, and the transmissions from 1995 to 1997 LS400s are all the same because they're all second gens. All the parts are the same, 95 to 97. That's the second gen. So first thing first, we're gonna get to swapping the transmission line, which is gonna be this one. I'm gonna be swapping this transmission line onto this cord. I mean, once we get the transmission line, we can start getting the transmission on. That transmission on from the white LS400 second gen we just took off. So once I get this transmission line on, I'll get to showing you guys step by step to getting it back in the transmission. So got the transmission line in, both are ready to go. Did make a good amount of mess, so I'm gonna let that soak up, and that way I can just sweep it up. After that, have a good workspace, start rolling around in oil. And then another thing we gotta do before we put the transmission in is drill that broken stud out. Those three are good. It's just that one. We gotta drill that out, and then should be ready to go. Start putting the other transmission in. So I'll get back to you once I start drilling that out. Alright guys, so we're gonna be putting our transmission back in. Drill out that catalytic converter stud once I get the transmission in. So when you're doing your transmission, putting it back in, before you put it back in, you want to make sure your torque converter is seated all the way in. So you want to spin it like that while applying pressure, pushing it in towards the bell housing. And you're gonna hear like a click, it's gonna go in. So it should be about 1.5 or 2 inches away from the bell housing. So we're gonna go ahead, slide it in, jack it up, put it in place. Alright guys, so when you're putting your transmission back in, you want to make sure you get that, I'm not sure what cable is called, but the cable that goes to our throttle body, you want to make sure that goes up and over. So it should go into this little clip right here that holds onto it, and then it also goes in here, and it's gonna go back onto our throttle body. And then we'll go from there, but make sure to put that on first. Bring it up first on the left side or right side of the engine bay, facing the car. If you're facing away from the car, which is that way, it's gonna be the left side of the engine bay. Facing the car, right side of the engine bay. So right now, right side of the engine bay, coming up from this side, you're gonna bring it up towards the throttle body. So you want to bring that up in while you're jacking up your transmission. If not, you're gonna struggle trying to put it in at last. And then also, while you're jacking your transmission up, we gotta find where is our dipstick tube. What the hell? Damn, dipstick tube, damn, done disappeared. What the hell? Oh, it's right here. So our dipstick tube is right here. You want to make sure. So it is a little loose. So your guys probably won't be that loose, but you want to make sure to line that up with this piece, second part of the dipstick tube, because you will struggle once you have it on. You forget to put that on first. So make sure to put all of those two things on first while jacking it up. That's the main thing. So also, as you're jacking up your transmission, you could connect your connector. This one you want to connect last because it does go from under. Like this goes like that from under, so you'll probably put that one for last. So you're gonna do this one, and the one to your shift linkage, which is on the other side. All right, guys. So our transmission is mounted up. We've got our transmission lines hooked up, 1 and 2. Our transmission bolted up. So from there, we can start getting to our, what's it called? We didn't get all of our bell housing bolts on. We're missing 2 and the top 2. Same way we got them on. Transmission mount off, car at an angle, and get the top 2 and the ones at the side. So we're gonna do that, tighten them all down. From there we could go to our torque converter bolts, or we could go to our transmission mount. We're gonna go to our transmission mount. From transmission mount, we're gonna go to our, what's it called, torque converter bolts. So let's do that. Oh, also, we still gotta drill out that stud. We still have some time. Alright guys, so I didn't really show you guys much, but transmission is completely in. This is not transmission fluid. The heater core hose broke off, leaked a bunch of coolant yesterday, but our transmission is completely in, 0 leaks. It works. Well, we don't know 100% sure if it'll work. Output shaft works, spins. But once we get our drive shaft on, we'll know. But I believe the diff is no good. So once we get our drive shaft on, we'll see if everything works perfectly. But might have to replace that diff. We'll see right now. But yeah, transmission's in, all hooked up. Shift linkage. Still need to drill that hole out. It's the last thing I want to do though. I hate drilling. And then put our exhaust back on. Put 2 sensors back on. Should be good from there. But yeah. All connectors are on. Transmission mount. This transmission mount is bad though. So I did recommend replacing it, but the customer didn't want to. So yeah. Get back to you guys once we're putting the drive shaft on. And don't forget to put this bracket. Don't really need it, but put it on if you want so. And the bracket that goes right here as well. Like I said, it's not important, but not my car. I'm gonna put it back on anyways. And then our boat's 2-hour center support bank. So let's get to that. Alright guys, so we finished up transmission on the LS400. It's all good, it's just good. Torque converter's good. Differential is good. Just changing out this heater core piece. Not sure exactly what it's called. It's connected to our heater core though. It's gonna cause overheating issues. But yeah, that finishes up transmission replacement on a 97 LS400. Like I said, should be similar for 1990 to 2000 LS400s. All steps and procedures are the same. It will be similar for GS400s and LS430s, as they are all 1UZs except for the LS430s, which is a 3UZ, but same steps, same procedures. So yeah, tune in for more videos.